Hey everyone. This is gonna be interesting. So first of all, I have to change the thumbnail again because it never uh, changes for me. It doesn't let me change the thumbnail. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna start like as soon as possible though. So I'm just waiting for people to hop on. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting video, and I've been waiting to do this for a really long time, which is really weird. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. And to see people's feedback on it, probably not going to be so positive, but that's all good. Okay, let's fix this thumbnail because it's probably whatever Niko's thumbnail was before. And I wish it would just change sometimes, but it does not. So it did not change my thumbnail. Of course it did. Hold on, people. Sorry if you're waiting. I promise. I promise I won't take forever. Okay. Now that that's changed, yeah, I didn't even include the accent mark shit. You got everyone's like, you got this. Thank you. Okay. This is gonna be interesting. People are gonna not like this, but you know, I don't care. Let's see if it changed the thumbnail. Yes, it actually did. Look at that. Okay. That means I can start. I just want to put it out. Yeah, I used Bernie's old campaign slogan because it was more fitting, of course. But you know, okay. Let's go back now. Okay. This is going to be quite the interesting video. And also, I just wanted to preface this by saying that I am going to be deleting this after I do the live stream because I have every single tab pulled up right here. And I want to make sure that I include screenshots and videos of everything because I am not making anything up in this video. This is all the truth, nothing but the truth. And unfortunately, it might just be distasteful for some of you to hear. Oh boy, this is gonna be good. Oh yeah, before I begin, I wanted to make sure that my camera and my microphone are working. So just let me know, please, before I start, because I don't want this to be, you know. A future of fear. Oh, I already got one dislike. See, someone's triggered. I'm sorry. Relentless aloha. Everything is go here. Good. Okay, good on my end. Okay, so I have been putting off this video for quite some time, not because I fear any kind of retaliation, but just because it's a lot of information to digest, a lot of information to repeat without kind of, you know, disgusting myself. But I wanted to also preface by saying I don't care who you end up supporting. This is not me being a Tulsi supporter and trying to purposely go out of my way to smear Bernie by just going through his record and going through his history. That's not my intention. My intention is just to inform everyone. So I personally don't give a shit if you end up supporting Yang. I don't give a shit if you don't support anybody at all. What I'm doing here is I'm just going through who Bernie Sanders is and You can continue to support him if you want to. I don't care. That's up to you. I just want to be able to present this information. I want to be able to make sure that you digest that information, whether or not you continue to support him or not. So yeah, so what I've done for the past couple of months is compile everything that I can find on Bernie. And I've become very familiar with everything that I need to say in this video. So without any further ado, I wanted to go through it. So Bernie Sanders, his old campaign slogan used to be "A future to believe in," but I fear that his campaign is, or his presidency would be a future to fear, because there are a lot of really gross parts of his record that people continue to whitewash and ignore. So that being said, I personally would not support him, but like I said, you're free to support him despite knowing all this information. This is personally what drew me away from him, because I felt that I had been lied to, and I had been fooled. So the first big part, I guess, of Bernie that no one talks about is his loyalty to the Democratic Party. And I know this is going to surprise some of you, because you're going to say, no, Bernie has been an independent his whole career. Yes, that might be true. He has been an independent in name only, though. Just taking a look here at his loyalty and alliance, his secret somewhat alliance to the Democratic Party. They never actively campaigned against Sanders ever since he first ran for Congress and won he first ran in 1988, and then he lost. But then in 1990 is when he won. And after that, he never had any kind of Democratic challenger, as he was independent. The second point is that he has endorsed every single Democratic nominee since 1992. As an independent, this is a little bit weird, and it's not really, he's not in a position to do that unless he felt like he had some kind of alliance with the Democratic Party. And he endorsed Bill Clinton, even though he expressed his disagreements with him. He said that he was a lesser of two evils. So the reality is that no one should have been surprised when he endorsed Hillary Clinton, because it's par for the course for Bernie to endorse whoever the Democratic nominee is, whether or not he agrees with them on everything or not. Interestingly enough, Howard Dean in 2005 praised Bernie because he voted with the Democrats 98% of the time. He actually voted with Hillary Clinton 93% of the time. And my last point is his record on war and peace is probably the most under-discussed aspect of Bernie Sanders, because usually what we focus on when we talk about Bernie are his great domestic policy proposals. So his foreign policy is kind of brushed under the rug, or there's a few positive votes that do stick out, such as his Iraq War vote. However, his Iraq War vote is hypocritical. And the reason why is because he actually supported regime change twice under Bill Clinton. And this is a very big criticism of Bernie, is that he tends to not support wars when it's a Republican president. We see this with George W. Bush as well as Donald Trump. He has opposed those military interventions. Bush, he supported a little bit more. He supported some of the military budgets under Bush, which funded the wars that he had opposed. However, that being said, he voted in favor of the Iraq Liberation Act in 1998, and it said that it should be the policy of the United States to support efforts to remove the regime headed by Saddam Hussein from power in Iraq, and to promote the emergence of a democratic government to replace the regime. That is clearly a regime change bill, but that isn't enough. He also backed a resolution that stated, Congress reaffirms that it should be the policy of the United States to support efforts to remove the regime headed by Saddam Hussein from power in Iraq, and to promote the emergence of a democratic government to replace that regime. These measures gave congressional backing for the CIA's covert plan to overthrow the Hussein regime in Baghdad, as well as the tightening of economic sanctions that have killed as many as 500,000 Iraqi children. The resolution also gave the green light to Operation Desert Fox, a 4-day bombing campaign striking 100 targets throughout Iraq. The operation featured more than 300 bombing sorties, and 350 ground-launched Tomahawk cruise missiles targeting Saddam Hussein himself. And when he has been confronted by these votes, he dismissed them as almost unanimous, despite there being a fairly decent list. Including Ron Paul, who opposed those votes. Interestingly enough, the only person who has truly held him accountable for these votes was Hillary Clinton on the debate stage in February 11th of 2016. She heavily criticized Sanders for his hypocrisy. So he had always attacked her for being very pro-regime change, and he positioned himself as an anti-regime change candidate. But the reality is that she pointed out, rightfully so, as much as I don't like Hillary Clinton, as much as she's a horrible person, this was actually something that she could get back at him for, because he's going after things that he also supported. So he's being hypocritical. So not only did she point out his vote regarding regime change in Iraq, but she also pointed to S-Res 85, which was in favor of regime change in Libya. It voted in favor of the Security Council being an active participant in setting the parameters for what we would do, which of course we followed through on. So I wanted to kind of go through this resolution because it is fairly troubling. So the title of it, it was also sponsored by Robert Menendez, Bob Menendez, as we know, to be a very proponent of the neocon foreign policy in Washington. It's called A Resolution Strongly Condemning the Gross and Systematic Violations of Human Rights in Libya, including violent attacks on protesters demanding democratic reforms and for other purposes. And while this may sound like it's not that bad a resolution, I wanted to point to some of the worst aspects of the bill. Or the resolution rather. So first of all, Hillary Clinton was correct in saying that it urged the General Assembly to suspend Libya's rights of counsel. Secretary of State Clinton's attendance at the UNHRC meeting in Geneva, and urges the Council's assumption of a country mandate for Libya that employs a special rapporteur on the human rights situation in Libya. Also, it calls for U.S. outreach to Libyan opposition figures in support of a orderly transition to a democratic government in Libya. So it also, this is probably the worst part of it, it urges the Gaddafi regime to abide by the Security Council resolution in 1970, and the Security Council just takes such further action to protect civilians in Libya from attack, including the possible imposition of a no-fly zone over Libyan territory. This is probably the worst part of the bill, or the resolution. So that was Libya, but now I wanted to move on to Syria, right? Because he also apparently is against regime change in Syria. This is not true. He actually agreed with what most of Hillary Clinton's position was on Syria. However, he said that the only difference really is that he would prioritize destructing ISIS first and then getting rid of Assad, but it's still a priority to him. And of course, he said that he supports President Obama's efforts in 2015 to combat the Islamic State in Syria, while at the same time supporting those in Syria trying to overthrow the brutal dictatorship of Bashar al-Assad. So before I go any further, I wanted to also add that one of the courageous moments, according to Sanders, in his opposition to the Iraq War, which some Democrats also did oppose for different reasons. They might have not agreed with Bush's strategy, so it wasn't as heroic as he makes it out to be. But regardless, it was still a good vote. If you're ignoring the previous two votes in support for regime change under Bill Clinton, what I wanted to add is that he predicted what would occur after we toppled Saddam Hussein, which is that it would create a vacuum, a power vacuum for ISIS. He was right there, but of course he didn't have that kind of foresight when he voted for those first two bills, resolutions regarding regime change in Iraq. And of course, he seems to not understand that concept when it came to Libya, as well as when it came to Syria. The strongest rebel force in Syria are the moderate rebels, which of course Bernie expressed his support of here in 2015, who are jihadists, as well as in Libya. So I wanted to also add that he's changed his position a couple of times regarding Syria, so it's kind of unclear what he would do today. He's so far had a position that Assad has got to go. What he usually says is that we need to convince Syria's allies, Russia and Iran, to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. That is not going to happen because they're some of Syria's strongest allies. They are not going to just suggest that one of their strongest allies, they're going to overthrow that regime and replace it with, of course, it would have to be a U.S. puppet, or else we wouldn't be seeking regime change. They're not going to advocate for that. Interestingly enough, as well, in 2017, Tulsi Gabbard introduced the Stop Arming Terrorists Act in the House, but then also Rand Paul introduced it in the Senate. Bernie Sanders did not co-sponsor it. There were 0 co-sponsors of that legislation. And even Tulsi Gabbard was the one who had to ask Maui residents to contact Senator Sanders to ask him to co-sponsor the bill. And again, this is consistent with his support for the moderate rebels. He's also met with the White Helmets and praised their humanitarian work along with Ro Khanna. This gets into my main point, which is you can say that he's maybe changed. It doesn't really seem like it because he still supports phasing out Assad. However, I'm reading right now from his website, and this is in his responsible and comprehensive foreign policy, as he likes to call it. And it says here that he would work with pro-democracy forces around the world to build societies that work for and protect all people. In the United States, Europe, elsewhere, and democracy is under threat by forces of intolerance, corruption, and authoritarianism. For anyone who doesn't know US history, this might seem very positive, and this might seem like a very leftist, internationalist kind of attitude towards the world, where we're very supportive of democracy and human rights. But this is a regime change dog whistle. Whether or not Bernie wants to admit it or recognize it, his support for the rebels in Libya and in Syria clearly show how dangerous this kind of philosophy of expecting the United States to be the arbiter of who is pro-democracy. In other words, it's always a translation of who is pro-US interests. So for him to rely on intelligence agencies to determine who is pro-democracy and not, and who's not, is very troubling. This also goes along with his view on the Ukrainian rebels. This is as recent as 2019. He was asked by CFR, "What, if any, steps would you take to counter Russian aggression against Ukraine?" He said, "The framework put in place by the Obama administration, the European Reassurance Initiative, and multilateral sanctions seem to have helped contain Russian aggression in Ukraine. My administration will make clear to Russia that additional aggression will force the United States to increase pressure, including expanding beyond current sanctions. For now, our main priority should be to work closely with our European allies to help the new Ukrainian government make good on its promises to reform the economy, improve standards of living, and substantially reduce corruption." So he is showing support here for Ukrainian neo-Nazis, whether or not he recognizes that they are or not. These are the kind of pro-democracy forces that he is supportive of, which is incredibly troubling. He shouldn't be that naive to just have a blanket statement that you're going to support those pro-democracy forces. I wanted to also move on to going into his lack of knowledge with regard to foreign policy. He was asked, everyone praised his J Street conference here October 28th of 2019. Everyone praised the fact that he wants to divert some of the aid that we give to Israel, the almost $4 billion to Gaza. We will discuss his issues on Israel and Palestine later on, but my focus here is that no one paid attention to when he was asked about what he would do to defeat ISIS. He says that, "I don't think anybody has a magical answer to your question." He gave a long pause before actually stating that, but then he decided to then go back to his first Iraq War vote in opposition to that, though he supported the lead up to that war, as well as, of course, the second Iraq War. These are the kinds of votes that he holds on to, because these are the kinds of positive votes that he's able to use to cover for the negatives of his record regarding regime change and the dangerous consequences of toppling dictators and democratically elected leaders around the world, to then assume that there isn't going to create that vacuum. But again, his plan to defeat ISIS, this is something that even Hillary Clinton noted. A vote in 2002 is not a plan to defeat ISIS in 2016. Of course, you can argue that he shouldn't be a hawk on terrorism. That's totally fine. But the ultimate solution to defeating terrorism would be to not be supporting it. That is number one. You are destroying civilian populations and by propping up these kinds of terrorist groups. And he needs to be very careful in suggesting that, oh, we don't have a magical answer. One of the magical answers would be to stop supporting terrorists in the first place, whether it be in Syria, of course, in Libya, that now is a failed state and a safe haven for terrorists. And of course, our attempt to do that as well in Syria. Of course, our successful attempts in Iraq. He needs to connect those dots, as well as, of course, connect that to Saudi Arabia and their support for extremism. So moving on, he's also said that he was impressed by the quality of his foreign policy. Who is he talking about? He was talking about Obama. This is absolutely devastating to anyone who knows the horrors of Obama's foreign policy, of course, in Libya and Syria. And the reason why Bernie was impressed with his foreign policy is because he supported much of it, obviously including Libya and Syria. So I wanted to also move on to this part here. Regarding Israel-Palestine, Bernie Sanders voted for a resolution supporting the recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, moving it from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is something that people don't recognize. This was as late as 2017. Interestingly enough, what he decided to do then, he voted in support of it, and then right after, Trump followed through with his decision to move to recognize Jerusalem as the Israeli capital. He then condemned him, and in a tweet here in 2017, he said, "There's a reason why all past US administrations have not made this move, and why leaders around the world have warned Trump against it. It would undermine the prospects for an Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement and severely, perhaps irreparably, damage our ability to broker it." However, that resolution that he backed and supported those Democrat and Republican senators, including Bernie, this reaffirmed the Jerusalem Embassy Act of 1995 as United States law, and calls upon the President and United States to abide by its provisions. And then I wanted to also tie that into his support for diverting the $4 billion that we give in aid to the Israelis, to divert that to Gaza. And that's another thing that people don't recognize in his J Street conference. I watched the whole thing. What people don't recognize is the fact that Gaza is incredibly small compared to all of what used to be Palestine. To just divert the aid to that region shows a lack of knowledge or awareness of the human rights violations that have been going on. And that should be no surprise, because you can catch Bernie in an interview in 2017 with AJ Plus. He used air quotes when talking about Israel's human rights violations. So he is very expressive in condemning Israel's actions in Gaza, but he forgets that Israel was built illegally, with that idea of invading and occupying someone else's territory. So it's not just about Gaza, it's about the creation of Israel in the first place. Which then goes into the fact that Bernie has been, according to his supporters, a very big proponent of protests. Okay, you can catch him here yelling at a pro-Hamas. They said this is according to this YouTube video. In reality, it was just someone who was supportive of Palestinians' rights. He said, "Shut up, you don't have the microphone," and he said, "I'm talking." This is someone who also, when it came to the F-35 program, he actually defended it in the same way that Trump defended Saudi Arabia and their job creation in our nation. By creating it's the military industrial complex. He defended it by saying in 2014, when confronted about his support for the F-35 program, he said, in the real world, if the plane is built and if the choice as if that goes to Vermont, South Carolina, or Florida, what is your choice as a United States Senator? Do you want it to go to South Carolina? My view is that given the reality of the damn plane, I'd rather it come to Vermont than to South Carolina. And that's what the Vermont National Guard wants. And it means hundreds of jobs in my city. That's it. When he had protesters, he arrested 15 of those protesters. Or sorry, actually, that was in another protest, but he did arrest protests as mayor of that program as well. And of course, if you don't know much about the F-35 program, there's lots of issues with its software, its sensors, and its gun, which won't be able to fire until 2019. And a few months ago, a military spokesman said that the fighter jet wasn't optimized for dogfighting. In fact, in a test battle with the 40-year-old F-16, the brand new F-35 jet lost. Moving on to a third protest that he wasn't very supportive when it personally undermined his own power and authority. This goes to his supporting for the bombing of Yugoslavia, the NATO bombing of Yugoslavia under, of course, Bill Clinton. He defended it because it would prevent genocide. And of course, he had several protesters who called themselves the Instant Anti-War Action Group, and 15 of those were arrested. And it goes on and on in terms of his support for these kinds of hawkishness and that attitude. I also wanted to bring up the fact that there was this article called Bernie the Bomber's Bad Week, and it was hosted by someone who published for the Liberty Union Party, which Bernie was a member of from 1970 to 1976. He was only a member of it for 6 to 7 years because he felt like it was ineffective. And what his theory was with how Bernie was able to not have any Democratic primary challengers was that he became an imperialist to get elected. So he supported a lot of the actions under the Clinton administration, and that he even suggested, according to a staff member who was president at the time, that he wasn't going to let some damn war cost him the election. This was after the Bush administration enticed Iraq to invade Kuwait. So then he, of course, backed the buildup to that war, but then voted against it when it came time, just like much like the second Iraq War vote that he had. Moving on, I also wanted to add now, moving on to sanctions. So Bernie Sanders bought into Russiagate through and through. And of course, a lot of people downplay it, but it's very significant. First of all, because buying into the Russiagate conspiracy theory just heightens tensions with Russia. It creates an attitude that forces whoever is in the office of presidency to be hawkish on Russia, because you feel like they attacked us in a very Pearl Harbor manner, as some may say, as some neocons might phrase it. It'll force you into a position where you feel like you need to defend yourself against Russian aggression to our own country and the undermining of our own democracy. So he did vote against the sanctions package on Iran and Russia, but the only reason why he did so was because it would violate the Iran nuclear deal, he felt. Otherwise, he said here in his statement on his Senate website that he is strongly supportive of the sanctions on Russia included in this bill. It is unacceptable for Russia to interfere in our elections here in the United States or anywhere else around the world. There must be consequences for such actions. So adding on to that, that was as recent as 2017. But of course, you have him being one of the 44 co-sponsors of Marco Rubio's legislation, the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act of 2019, which also implemented sanctions on China. He also, in an interview with Crystal Ball, he suggested that he might potentially use sanctions against Brazil to force them to change their laws regarding regarding climate change and the environment and the Amazon forest fires, which shows a consistent lack of knowledge on what sanctions are really about. And again, targeted sanctions are only effective around 25% of the time. They've done some studies on this. So if he doesn't understand that, then that kind of pressure that he wants to promote democracy and human rights around the world, this can be very dangerous because he can actually hurt the same people who he's trying to bring democracy and freedom and human rights to, by supporting sanctions that will always hurt those who are the most vulnerable in society, rather than those who are leading those countries, the brutal dictators of the world. Of course, I also wanted to bring up the fact that he was very hawkish on Venezuela, whether he, said that Maduro was a vicious tyrant in the democratic debates when, of course, Jorge Ramos positioned himself as the hawk that he is on Venezuela, and he framed it in a way where Bernie felt like he needed to be anti-socialist, as he's been, with the governments of China, the North Korea. The list goes on and on. Even Syria, you could say. He has consistently undermined these socialist leaning governments, such as, of course, Venezuela. And again, I'm just going to read his tweet storm. This was, of course, also under his press release on his website. I'm just reading from that. The Maduro government in Venezuela has been waging a violent crackdown on Venezuelan civil society, violated the constitution by dissolving the National Assembly, and was reelected last year in an election that many observers said was fraudulent. Further, the economy is a disaster and millions are migrating. And then, of course, he said the United States should support the rule of law, fair elections, and self-determination for the Venezuelan people. We must condemn the use of violence against unarmed protests and the suppression of dissent. However, we must learn the lessons of the past and not be in the business of regime change or supporting coups, as we have in Chile, Guatemala, Brazil, and the Dominican Republic. The United States has a long history of inappropriately intervening in Latin American countries. We must not go down that road again. However, he did back and was one of the 15 co-sponsors here by Richard Durbin, another neocon. It was a resolution condemning the continued undemocratic measures by the government of Venezuela to undermine the independence of democratic institutions and calling for a free and fair electoral process. As we know, the electoral system in Venezuela is one of the most credible in terms of being, the most free and fair elections. And of course, it's our elections that are not free and fair. And this actual piece of legislation it wasn't that tweet storm. This is 2018 that he decided to co-sponsor this. It condemned Venezuelan President Maduro's authoritarian steps to undermine democratic institution. Gives you an idea of who the pro-democracy forces that he would work with, opponents of Maduro who might not necessarily support U.S. intervention, but he said before that he does support, working with the Venezuelan opposition, and then, of course, the pro-Maduro forces as well. Rejects the Venezuelan government's efforts to blame the economic, humanitarian, and political crisis on other actors instead of recognizing its own malfeasance and criminality. Of course, much of the economic disaster that we see in Venezuela is largely caused by U.S. sanctions. And this just goes to show that Bernie Sanders does not understand that by co-sponsoring such a resolution. It urges the Venezuelan government to permit the delivery of humanitarian assistance and to stop using food as a tool of political coercion, condemns the Venezuelan government for failing to credibly participate in internationally mediated negotiations to restore democracy, free political prisoners, and permit the delivery of humanitarian assistance, and supports Peru's decision as host of the 8th Summit of the Americas not to invite President Maduro, in other words, not to recognize him as the leader of that country, the democratically elected leader, and efforts of the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to examine Venezuela's use of torture and arbitrary detentions. Finishing up here. So this goes with the whole impeachment mania that we see today. Why does Bernie Sanders support the impeachment of Donald Trump over Ukraine Gate? over a phone call, over withholding aid to the Ukrainian freedom fighters. This is probably one of the strangest things I ever learned about Bernie, which is that he actually opposed impeachment under Bush. And he said that it was impractical to talk about impeachment with Republicans in control of the House and the Senate. Even though you had after a series of resolutions passed in various Vermont towns calling on him to bring about the articles of impeachment against George W. Bush. That's when, of course, he said that it would be impractical. However, it is still impractical to this day to impeach Donald Trump. It is not going to go through the Senate, which is, of course, controlled by Republicans. Of course, Sanders continued to show his opposition towards the Bush administration, but he did not support actually impeaching him. However, he does support Bush. So what changed? What changed is that the majority of the Democrats support one and not the other. They support the impeachment of Donald Trump for ridiculous reasons that they themselves aren't complicit in, and for reasons that they feel is threatening the U.S. empire and our national security by withholding aid to those Ukrainian rebels who Obama also refused to provide aid to. But they then opposed the impeachment of Bush. You have Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi yesterday just admitted the fact that she didn't feel like impeachment, that the articles of impeachment against George W. Bush should be brought forth because he was elected, and she knew that he lied us into that war, but she just felt like it wasn't grounds for impeachment. So that's what changed. And this is where it comes in that Bernie has that somewhat of alliance between himself and the Democratic Party. As much as he wants to say that he's independent, like I said, he votes with Democrats majority of the time, and that was part of one of his agreements was that he would be able to vote vote against the Republicans, vote with the Democrats in name only. And of course, you had Chuck Schumer, who even endorsed Sanders early on. This was in the early 2000s. And of course, you had Howard Dean praising him. And of course, Barack Obama even campaigned for him. But yeah, he votes with Democrats on all procedural matters unless he's asked, unless he specifically feels like he needs to, disagree with them. But he's free to vote as he pleases, but he almost always votes with the Democrats. But this is one of the deals that people feel like as if he made regarding, it's not an official agreement, but it's that, discrete agreement where he doesn't have any kind of Democratic primary challenger, but as a result, he votes like a Democrat regardless. So to the Democratic Party, it doesn't make a difference. As much as they want to complain that he's not a Democrat. I wanted to finish up then by saying Bernie Sanders won't even promise to remove all troops from Afghanistan in his first year. He said that he suspects not. He told New York Times that I suspect not when he asked, would there be American troops in Afghanistan at the end of your first term? He's already kind of giving a milquetoast answer on that. He did not rule out residual forces in Afghanistan. So if this is his position on Afghanistan, I don't want to know his position on Iraq and on Syria, and the list goes on and on. If he can't even agree to what Pete Buttigieg agreed to, which is that he would have troops removed by his first year, which is interesting. So that concludes my video. I actually thought that it was going to be longer than this, but that was that. Like I said, you are free to continue to support Bernie Sanders if you want. My issue with Bernie is that he's been consistently for regime change, despite him saying that he's not. And there are some positions that he holds that I agree with, especially on domestic policies. But the reality is that he has chosen to side with the neocons, and whether it's because he is just not familiar with foreign affairs, or he feels as if I don't know. I just think he might be naive, and that's his Achilles heel as a result. So so that's what I wanted to to say. And I am going to, like I said, look at that dislike ratio, like to dislike ratio. I knew this would happen. I don't care. You know, I just wanted to have this information out there. And of course, I am going to edit this video. Sorry for all the mistakes that I made or whatnot. And saying things. He said he was against the Iraq war. Great. Well, I exposed his hypocrisy there as well. So, okay. I'm waiting for all the people who have been relentlessly attacking Tulsi to call us a smear. Yeah, I'm not interested in smearing Bernie. I just wanted to clarify that. I don't care. Like I said, you can continue to support Bernie. You can support Andrew Yang. You can support Tulsi Gabbard. You can not support anyone at all. You can support Green Party. That is totally up to you. What I just wanted to do is go through all of that because this is what I have been researching for the past couple of months, and I've compiled all of this. And I research a lot regarding Bernie's positions on foreign policy. Whenever Washington Post asks the candidates about foreign policy, I check. New York Times, same thing. I go through all of this. So I just want people to be aware of his positions. And once you're aware of his positions, please push him on these issues. I think a lot of these positions are incredibly troublesome. And if everyone just continues to excuse these votes by saying, yes, he's not perfect. I know he's not perfect. He's not the best on foreign policy. Or maybe you want to argue that he is. Please be aware of this. And please push him on this as a supporter, because I cannot bear to think about, and this is why I chose this title here, A Future to Fear. I fear that too many of his supporters, and this goes, with any kind of presidential candidate, even if you're a Tulsi supporter, I want you to be aware of her record. I want you to be able to criticize her record without any hesitation. Same goes for Bernie Sanders. Same goes for anyone else who's running. You need to always keep a skeptical eye of anyone who's in a position of power, who's in a position to make these kinds of decisions that are literally life and death for people in foreign countries, for U.S. troops. So that was my point. My fear is that people would not protest Bernie with these decisions. I used to have a list compiled of everything wrong with Bernie's record and his current positions, and of course I found out more things as time went by. But I remember a couple of his supporters suggesting, well, there's only like 2 bad things in there, and that just breaks my heart, because what is this going to look like when he's president? How are people going to react? My fear is that people will either be too focused on his domestic policies, or they will buy into the propaganda that Bernie ends up buying, that he won't have that courage. And something else that I also wanted to add that I find funny is that he wanted to abolish the CIA. He made a statement in 1974 that he wanted to abolish the CIA in 1974, and now he repeats all their talking points. That's what I could sum up Bernie. He's changed a lot since the 1970s, 1980s, unfortunately, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped supporting him. But again, like I said, that's why I wanted to make this video. And yeah, like my fear is that people aren't going to hold him, to account for not only these votes, but his actions. If he does become the president of the United States, I want people to just hold him accountable. He's making these kinds of decisions. He has that pressure on him by the foreign policy establishment. You can't just excuse any of these actions. You shouldn't excuse anything that anyone in a position of power does. I never will. I'm never going to make any, I'm never going to forgive people for their bad votes. That's just not what I'm interested in doing. Michael Parenti has a really good explanation of why Bernie Sanders is pro-war. I'm going to have to look at that. I know that him and Parenti used to be good friends before he left the Liberty Union Party, and before he supported the bombing of Kosovo. That's when Michael Parenti never talked to him again, because he was just so disappointed with his vote and with his capitulation to Bill Clinton and those the rest in a position of power. But I'm going to write in Ron Paul. Yeah. So yeah, I can. If you have any other questions, you can ask me. Like I said, like I made sure to to do my research and. But before I made any video, I didn't want to. I didn't want to just throw in a couple of things there and not be right. But Parenti is 100% right on Yugoslavia. Yep, he is. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else that you wanted to add. Tulsi Sophia in 2020. But yeah, I really wanted to emphasize that I don't care if you support Tulsi. I don't care if you support Bernie. We need to always hold people, accountable. There are a lot of, parts that I don't, I don't agree with a lot of parts of her record, and I'm, open to criticizing her for that because I want to make her better. Like I'm not interested in just, letting her continue with the same positions that she has. I want her to develop strong positions on issues that I care about, and that's why I'm going to hold her accountable. So reading super chats though would be dope. Okay, thank you for the super chats. I'm trying to find them. Let me see. Let me scroll up. I thought there was a way for me to be able to just see all the super chats, but I guess not. Live chat. Okay, so those dislikes, y'all mad. Yeah, that's it, as expected. That was only super chat. Or no, was there another one? Do you have super chats to read, Sophia? Apparently I do. I can't find them. Oh, and his foreign policy advisor. That's something that I forgot to mention too. See, there's so much stuff. I had all these tabs open, so I did forget a couple of things. I don't think Bernie has a spine to stand up to the military-industrial complex. Yep, that's that's what I fear as well. And of course, he's shown that he's capitulated as well. He can't even stand up to Hillary, let alone. Yep. Sophia should delete her history from when she's. I can't be. Well, actually, I learned that I can be president. I didn't realize that. Yellow vest, Michael Brooks, figure it out. Dislikes are coming from, yeah. Bernie also gutted Ron Paul out at the Fed bill. He did. He can't even speak up for Assange. Yeah, I want to be able to see all my super chats. All chats. Great job, Sophia. Principle over personality. No political saviors. Hold your own. I agree. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to find out how I can. Bernie is Obama 2.0. This is something that I say sometimes, Great work, Sophia. Thank you, Christy. If he can't speak for Assange, will he speak for us? Yeah, I was going to include Assange as well. Maybe I will when I, edit the video. But my focus was more so on his, and it actually, it is. Obviously, it's not that Assange isn't important. It's just that I felt like it didn't tie into the alliance with the Democratic Party. But I think that his stance on Assange might have something to do with that as well. Beware, progressive voice will be coming after you. I mean, great. I don't care. He's not going to watch the whole video. Like that. I know that. When the dislikes are coming from Bernie bros who can't take criticism. Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it goes. Hit the like, you swabs. Bernie is so Obama. Just listen to Obama's speeches when fighting Hillary. Yeah, he actually, when he praised Obama, when he said that he was impressed by his the quality of his foreign policy, he actually said, and one of his best votes was the vote against the Iraq War. Tulsi should attack Bernie, in my opinion. I don't know. That's up to Tulsi. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to include Assange in the edited video. That's definitely something I should have included. Bernie is Obama 2.0. You sound ridiculous. Well, Obama was Bush 2.0, you know. So it just, that same foreign policy will be perpetuated with all those presidents unless they have the ability to stand up for them and they have the knowledge and understanding that it takes to not give in to those neocon advisors that will be put into place. LOL, what did Bernie do this time? Well, I just went through his all his positions. A lot of Bernie supporters say it's not strategic for him to mention Assange. Wait till he's president. He will do something they say. No, that's, to me, that's unacceptable. I mean, you know, and I actually, yeah, you know, I really should have included Assange now that I think about it. Because it goes to show you, if he can't even stand up, you know, for a journalist that's being prosecuted right now because he's, you know, he fears the retaliation that he'll get, then I don't want to think about, you know, how it'll be when he has all these neocons surrounding him and telling him, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to understand the situation. This is the action that you need to proceed with. Bernie at least promotes and is big on getting people. Gotta head out. All right, bye, Sarah. I'm thinking about re-recording this because I messed up so many times and I wanted to make it more consistent. Bernie needs to get rid of the punk asses. I'm talking to you, Kana. That is my problem with the Bernie camp. They want to win. They want to act to win, not for change. Probably go to sleep when Bernie wins. Yeah, this is also one of my concerns. They might fall asleep just like people did under Obama. And yeah. I think Assange will be will be alive by the time the next president gets into office. You know, Assange should stay strong. But Pete Buttplug is a corporate apologist. You should do it again and publish it. Yeah, I think I will. I was thinking about just doing a screen recording because I had like 30 tabs open or something. But yeah, I messed up too many times for me to be satisfied with this. What I may do is, because I'm not going to be here, you know, during the weekend, I might just redo this again. And I'm going to add Assange, and then I'm going to add something else that I wanted to add, now that I think about it. Assange needs Bernie now, not next year. Yeah, I agree. You know, he should use his massive, massive platform to speak out for Assange. Didn't Tulsi support Bernie in 2016? Isn't it her decision-making question? Yeah. Did you see the CFR article on Bernie? Yeah, I did. That's what I read from when it came to Ukraine. That's where I read from. Yes, Assange is important. Yeah, I agree. It just, I had all these tabs open because these are the things that people don't talk about. I think people are more vocal about Assange, his lack of any spine with Assange. But yeah, I think at least I should include it because it goes to show you the lack of courage that he has. It backed him over Hillary Clinton's foreign policy. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I should have also included that what Bernie disagreed with Hillary on with regard to Syria was that we should have a no-fly zone. And that was something that Tulsi was very, you know, opposed to because it would lead to World War III with Russia. So that may have been, but she might not be aware of the parts of his record like most. I mostly fear Bernie will kill. Thank you for the super chat, first of all. I mostly fear Bernie will kill the movement he is building once DNC anoints their chosen candidates. Yeah. My theory is that they have a cache of photos of young Bernie at an Epstein party. That's why he takes so many ship positions. I don't think that. Hillary wanted, yeah, no fly zone, hot war. Yep. That may have been why Tulsi opposed it. But again, I also didn't support the fact that she endorsed Hillary. She was not the lesser of two evils. They were both equally evil, just in different ways. Tulsi doesn't have Black support, which she'll need if she's going to be the nominee. I don't know. You'd have to. I mean, she has one of the most diverse, donor breakdowns of all the other candidates. Bernie the killer now. No. Supporters who claim to care, ask him tonight to speak for Assange. They will not, unfortunately. Tulsi didn't endorse Hillary. She voted for her. Isn't there a difference? Yes, a bit. You know, she didn't campaign for her. Yeah, she said, like, given the alternatives, I'm going to vote for Hillary. You know, which is her endorsement of her. It's not like this. It's not like it was a very important endorsement because, you know, Hillary couldn't care less, you know, who Tulsi would support. Tulsi going to be the nominee. You are the joke. You are a joke. I don't know where in my video I said she's going to be the nominee. So why would he kill the movement but didn't after 2016 make it make sense? What? You are Tulsi delusional nuts. Well, cool. If you would have watched the beginning of this video, you would have seen me say, I don't give a shit who you support. You can support Yang, you can support Tulsi, you can continue to support Bernie, or you can support no one at all. That's not my biz. Like, my title here is just going, you know, is just, it makes it evident that I'm just going through who Bernie is. So in the same way that I would, you know, Pete or Warren, you know, except I have a little bit more sympathy towards Bernie. But yeah. Thank you for the super chat, Marcus. Bernie killed the Audit the Fed movement and the Occupy Wall Street movement when he gutted the Audit the Fed bill. Yeah. F off liar. No, you can go back right now as I'm continuing. You can go back and you can find me saying that. And I can continue to say that if you are so offended. Don't feed the trolls. Ignore the rose troll. I will vote for Bernie. Wait, what? I will vote for Trump again, just like I didn't. Don't vote for Trump. Like, don't. He doesn't deserve it. Yes, vote your conscience and vote for someone who actually, you know, stands for what to believe in. I don't want to listen to you. Of course you don't. That's probably why you probably dislike this video. You'd be nuts not to support Tulsi. You can have your reasons to not support Tulsi. That's why I like Sophia. She will not try to shame you into voting her way, unlike some other progressives. Yeah, like, I don't give a shit. You can support whoever you want. Like, this is a primary for a reason. And if someone loses, it's because, you know, they lost. Of course, there's a distinction between why a progressive and a centrist would lose, because the centrist has the support of the DNC and the DNC can rig it against them. But I'm not just going to act like this isn't the purpose of a primary, to have people, you know, get pushed on positions and, you know, to be better. Well, Sophia, it's his vote to give to whoever. Well, yeah, I mean, but you should write in. That's what I'm going to be doing. You know, I don't want to listen to you as you continue to listen to the video. Exactly. This is a primary. This is where we push our candidates left. You piss off Bernie haters. What? Sophia, facts. Bernie, because yeah, like I said, you can support whoever you want. I don't care. When Tulsi endorses Bernie, what happens? I'll probably, you know, quit. What is Tulsi waiting for? She needs to tweet about Assange. I agree 100%. And this is what I asked her about. Like, it's probably been a month now, and she hasn't said anything. And like, I told her some of the things. Next time I should have like an article, you know, that I can just give to her. Now he's gonna kill it. I don't know what you are referring to. Tulsi has creepy eyes, or the way she stares into the camera. Those are the windows of the soul. You're sick. I actually am sick. I woke up sick today. you're right. Abby Martin. Tulsi was bent over. Bernie was bent over in 2016. What? Didn't she speak on Assange a while ago? She did, but that was in May. Or she might have had an interview where she spoke up, in support for Assange a little bit more recently than that, but she hasn't spoken out about, his recent treatment. When Bernie endorses Tulsi, I will take back everything bad I ever said about him. Don't. You should still criticize anyone, everyone. Abby Martin seems to be jealous that Tulsi looks better than her. I don't know. Bernie is our savior, our Lord and Shepherd. It's prophecy. Hey, honestly, the like to dislike ratio isn't actually that bad. Tulsi spoke day Assange arrested. Yeah, I know, but she hasn't spoken out like consistently about it like someone like Jill Stein has. But thank you for the super chat, Jack. Bernie is the avatar. How long can they drag Biden out there? The guy is literally in early stage dementia. She hasn't spoken about. Yeah, she has not. Sanders can't win. The most support he can get is one of the four Dems. Bernie is really. Tulsi has even less of a chance of winning. The establishment smears her more than Bernie. The ratio isn't that bad. LOL, just wait until a few hours. I know. I don't care though. She needs to speak more for Assange. Yeah, I wish that she just, like I know she's going around the country or, at least New Hampshire for right now. But there's really no excuse, like, for you to at least make a statement or two just to use your platform to get that information out there. I don't see the issue with that. I don't see, how you don't have the time to do that. The establishment has no chance of winning. Tulsi's chances. Biden is an utter jerk. Did you see where he called the guy fat? I did. Everyone acts like the Tulsi gang has always. Meanwhile, what? No, he's not. Now, when she endorses Bernie, I'll wait till next time around when Jesse Ventura runs. Oh yeah, because I forgot that Jesse might be running. Why not go on Tim Black? Are you speaking about Tulsi? If Tulsi becomes a nominee, she should not pick Bernie as her VP. She should not, in case anything should happen to her. She should pick someone like Kucinich. I do wonder why she hasn't been on Tim Black. Yeah, I don't know. Responding to chat is not the way to go. Identify your talking points and roll with that. LOL, Joe Biden. Oh. Pete's only polling double digits in what, 3 states? Oh, yeah. She should pick Tim Canova. That's also a good choice. Tim Black smears Tulsi. He doesn't even try to. Well, I think that's all the more reason why she should go on. That's what she did with TYT when she went on, and spoke with Jank. Just wait for the incoming tweets from. Oh crap! I might have to mute my notifications for the next 2 days. But Tulsi should pick Sean Penn for VP. So there's already Bernie people tweeting screenshots of the stream and taunting you. Really? Someone's gonna have to send me those. I mean, what are they gonna say? They're gonna tell me that I lied? I didn't lie about shit here. I have all the tabs, and again, I'm gonna post up an edited video where you're gonna be able to see for yourself. So if you think that I'm going out of my way, to do anything, then you're absurd to make up shit. We called Tim Black out because he was clickbaiting Tulsi. Maybe save the planet. Suki, Bernie supporters. Good, they can learn some stuff. They won't though, because they won't watch the video. Let's see how my mentions are. I don't think they're bad. No. You know, it's funny too. My title wasn't even, yeah, put the links in the description. I will do that. You know, the weird thing too is that my title isn't even like Bernie is an imperialist pig, like some articles. That's the title of them. Like my title was just Bernie Sanders presidency, a future to believe in or a future to fear. Put the link. Yeah, I already read that. Thank you for the super chat, Manny. Dim Black. Tim Black has been harsh on Tulsi. Yeah, he's no fan of Tulsi. That there's the tweet. Oh, look, I have someone sent me. I like Tulsi, but her stands are childish. If you watch the video, she does make some good points. It's up to you to make those points. Touche, someone said. Again, it's fucking absurd that these people don't actually click on the video and they don't see anything that I said. I'm gonna have to clip out the part in the video where I said you're free to support whoever you want to support. You think Tulsi could pick Richard Ojeda as Secretary of State? No, she should pick Thomas Massie. He is really solid on foreign policy. Okay. Tulsi's scheduled interview with Tim Black got canceled. Tim had tech issues and could fix it in time, and couldn't fix it. I'm guessing meant to say in time. Maybe I'll find the link where Tim sincerely says he finds her as winning. Yeah, it was after she slammed Hillary Clinton. No matter who wins, there'll be plenty to be concerned about. That's for damn sure. He was clickbaiting Tulsi. I love when people attack Sophia and don't even tag her. What are they scared of? I don't know. You tell me. I fucking hate politics. You should love it. Tulsi is trolling us. Yeah, that was weird. Jocko was an insult to Tulsi. He had no reason to be there. Yeah, I agree. That I wish she just did it alone, like a podcast alone. But I guess like she has already been on there 2 times. I think Abby's been on there 3 times. So, but I don't know. Sophia is this Hillary shill. Oh no, why do we have a Hillary shill in here? Abby on Tulsi, very strange that Tulsi Gabbard is running against Bernie Sanders. That's why I dislike her the most. Why is she running against Bernie? Yep, she did say that. Who do you think will drop out next now that top tier is gone? I don't know. Well, Castro is not doing well at all. Like he's doing, I don't know. I don't know if he's doing worse than Booker though. I'd have to check, but one of those two. It's all right to hate politics. It's a necessary evil to take the time to participate in. I agree. Jocko could have went by himself. Yeah, but then I wouldn't watch it. Like Tulsi is the only good candidate. Well, if you're excluding Green Party candidates, then yes, sure. The idea came from some back and forth. Yeah. I thought Abby liked Tulsi. She did in June, but then when Tulsi started pulling higher, then that's when she started to say that she didn't know why she was running against Bernie. That's when, of course, Tulsi's numbers rose in the polls. I thought Jocko was respectful at least. Yeah, I mean, you know, he sounded like a lot of confused, you know, neocons, whatever. Regular neocon. I mean, I don't mean like people in a position of power, just people who are propagandized. Thank you for the super chat, Marhaba Iktara. Why does Anna and TYT hate Tulsi? Hindu phobia? No, probably not. I would just say probably because, well, it could be like obviously like the UTA stuff, but I think it also could just be they don't agree with her. I mean, I found someone did this amazing thread that I tweeted yesterday about Cenk pushing for war in Libya, and he also supported the arming of the moderate rebels. So it may be that they just feel like their philosophies don't align very well. She doesn't believe in humanitarian intervention. That is non-existent. Cenk does. I can't say as much, you know, for Anna. Anna is a big Russia gator too. So who knows? I would not say that it's about, you know, Hinduism and Hindu phobia though, but I'm ready to, I have a fresh cup of neoliberal tears. I'm ready to drink when Castro finally drops out. Nice. Thank you, Cannabis Sativa. Abby is on TYT often. The hate for Tulsi is for money. I don't think Abby is about the money. You know, obviously, you know, Anna Kasparian, it's a different story. Oh yeah, and of course I forgot that Anna, you know, interviewed Madeleine Albright and didn't hold her accountable for anything. You know, as she was in that position to interview her, and she wouldn't confront her about, you know, the statements that she's made. I don't understand how someone can be that horrible. But who will drop out? I said Castro or Booker. I'm assuming. Klobuchar actually is kind of doing well in New Hampshire from what I've seen on the ground. So Anna hates Tulsi because she's told to. No, I think she actually legitimately hates her. They're paid off. Jocko sounded like a typical meathead. Jocko kept balancing and counterbalancing. Received opinion. Hindu, it's always a connection that when you dig deeper, you find several of these Tulsi haters have a Hindu-phobic past. I don't think so. I don't know. I wouldn't agree with that. I read Abby Martin's take on India, and she pushed for a Hindu-phobic narrative. Yeah, I don't know. I can't comment on that because I don't know. Oh yeah, CAA also forgot about that. The Green Party does not have any good candidates, right? Unless Jill Stein runs. I agree. Jocko is willing to listen. People would have realized he's a SEAL. People have to realize that he was a SEAL in an actual combat and led SEALs in combat. You have to hear what they actually say. Yeah, I agree. Abby has flaws. Take what you want and read the best. Yeah, like I appreciate a lot of the work that she's done. That's for sure. But I think her discussion of Tulsi and Bernie, I kind of tune out, to that. I don't think that she's a career horse either. Jimmy Dore's video on Joe Rogan's interview with Barry Weiss was a real eye-opener to why a lot of journalists have these views, received opinions. Abby Martin wants back into the progressive establishment. It's literally impossible to hate Tulsi. Believe me, I tried. Yeah, I actually didn't like her at first either. So you can come here on, Bernie people who think that I'm just like a Tulsi stan or whatever. You can come on here because I didn't like her first either. I didn't like that she was running against Bernie. So I just felt like she was just like in the way of his turn. That's how I started off. That was my original opinion on Tulsi. Remember, he spoke for Lula. He did. Have a great burner. Yeah. They hate Tulsi because Tulsi is opposed to the war in Syria and Israel. War in Syria. If Anna's not Hindu-phobic, then she needs to stop smearing Tulsi vis-a-vis. I don't think she's necessarily Hindu-phobic. I think she's just latching on to whatever she possibly can to undermine Tulsi's campaign. Like I said, I don't understand the reason exactly why, but I think it's just because they have a fundamental disagreement on foreign policy. It was weird. Sophia, there's plenty on her past. Back when she was RT, she went on full attack on India and Modi with the same Hindu-phobic prejudices. Yeah. Well, something else that Abby did was she condemned Russia's aggression with, I think, Ukraine and Crimea. Thanks for keeping it real. Hi to Niko. Thank you again for the super chat. Much appreciated. I didn't like Obama at first, and I still don't like him. That's good. I found Tulsi because of Shoe on Head. Wow. Even though Tulsi ran before Bernie, yeah, apparently. Barry Weiss is the original toady. Tulsi is way better than Bernie. I'm a Bernie guy. I love Tulsi too. This is Convi. I don't know what that means. I first knew about Tulsi in either late 2016 or early 2017. That's when I really started to like her. Wow. Anna never talks about the Israeli genocide of Palestinians. I didn't know that. So I guess I will be finishing up probably. I'll like leave, in 5 minutes or so. But I also wanted to add that if you are not already, oh God, I didn't change the description. Of course I didn't. I always do this. Hold on. I was just gonna add, if you are not already a patron to the show, please become one. Please help support the show. You can also send me some money to support me. I just changed the description right now. I have my PayPal link, my Cash App, and of course Patreon. I will be posting. I already did on my Patreon an exclusive for patrons only. But yeah, if you haven't already, please, if you can, in any way, support my work here. You know, I recently like this took me a really long time for me to be able to finally do. And it took a lot for me to do this. You're low key or high key smearing Bernie. I don't know how. Hey Brett. I don't know how me going through what Bernie has said and what Bernie has done is smearing him. Don't hope for change. Bernie smeared himself. I mean, Modi has his problems, but TIT is, yeah, the unfortunate. Thank you, Daddy Gad, for the super chat. Yep, she's smearing Bernie. Cool, thanks. Next time. Oh yeah, yeah. You know, I should have talked about Matt Duss, and that's the other thing that I also wanted to talk about was the people that he chose to surround himself with. Robert O'Malley and then Matt Duss, of course. How dare you smear with facts? I don't know. Please don't make me stop liking Tulsi. This is bad. What does that mean? I always thought Anna would stop the xenophobic smear. She's not a journalist. Green Party presidential runs are opportunities for truth bombs to get out. They need, yeah, Jesse Ventura would be great, but I don't think that he can actually run at this point, you know, as a Green Party. I don't know. Tulsi is the only one I can see as commander-in-chief. Abby was bashing Tulsi because a supporter called out her cousin for being a killer. Yeah, we get that Tulsi is great, but you're smearing Bernie unnecessarily. You guys whine when people do it to Tulsi. I don't criticize people for going through, like, you know, when people point out Tulsi's previous votes, like from like 2014, 2015 on like Venezuela, you know, I appreciate the fact that people actually bring those up. Whether or not they have good intentions behind it, I like actually knowing all of her votes and her positions, and also knowing how she supported like a 3-state solution in Iraq. That's totally wrong. She continues to support the Kurds. That's another criticism that I have of her. Sophia, is Holly Hawkins good? I like him. No, he's a Russiagator. Yeah, I'm not smearing Bernie. Like this whole video was just going through his previous statements and whatnot. No, he's terrible. He pushed Russiagate. Yeah. Unfortunately, Howie Hawkins sucks. Yep, he does. He's a McCarthyite. Yes, he is, which is not good for the Green Party, but that's how it's going to be, you know. But yeah, that's probably the worst part about him. He also kept wanting to say that Chelsea Manning, like he kept like misgendering her for some reason, which I don't understand why he would do that. I'm joking, Sophia. Sophia, you should interview professor from San Francisco who knows how Hindophobia works. Somebody told me that before, but Anna Kasparian believes at Madeleine Albright foreign policy. That's why she hates Tulsi. I mean, she didn't push back on anything. I don't know, like exactly what she agrees with her on, but you would have thought that she would at least ask her, you know, how do you feel about, you know, this well-known statement that you made years ago? Like, do you regret it? Do you have any regret? And she was big on also bombing Kosovo too. I'm experienced vicariously through Sophia. Ventura McKinney would be a good Green Party ticket. I'm not familiar with McKinney. Tulsi should branch out her foreign policy to talk more about Latin America, Caribbean, Haiti. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard any statement from her on Haiti. But yeah, Puerto Rico. Well, she obviously went there. Look her up. Sophia, I like you and Niko's criticism of Bernie because it's facts, not smears. Yeah, I mean, like you know, like I said, you can still support Bernie. I didn't say you shouldn't. I'm just saying you should be a little bit skeptical, you know, and you should try to push him to be better. That's it. Period. You know, I personally will not be supporting him, but you're free to do so. For the millionth time, I should include that in the description so that I don't have to keep repeating it. Honestly, I'm torn between Tulsi and Bernie. I will most likely vote for Bernie, but there's ranked choice voting. I'd probably put Tulsi as my number one. Yeah, that's how I used to be. I used to be Bernie number one, Tulsi number two. Like I used to want a Tulsi Bernie ticket, or rather a Bernie Tulsi ticket. Sorry. Cynthia McKinney. Oh yes. Okay, sorry, I didn't recall. Why is it that Tulsi struggles on Israel and Palestine? I don't know. This is one of my criticisms of her too. Like I don't know why she isn't, like, you know, she doesn't need to fear any kind of retaliation. She should just be vocal about it and, you know, be very upfront. I don't know if it's just like from like a lack of knowledge or if it's actual fear, but regardless, like she should, you know, become informed on the issue, and actually have a very strong position. So you might have to ask Tulsi personally about South America. Yeah, she spoke out about Honduras and how Hillary Clinton supported regime change there in the coup. But like I said, I've never heard anything about Haiti, which you should, you know, definitely look into. Cynthia McKinney, yeah. Smears aren't based on facts. Hi, Sophia. Hi, Natalie. Smears are based on bias, jealousy. Yeah. Yeah, she needs to be clear about Israel. I do think it's a way easier position to take. Well, yeah. I mean, it might not be an easy position to take, but it's an obvious position to take, you know. But yeah, I think I might end this for today. And like I said, I'm going to be deleting this. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for people who, you know, maybe you like Bernie, maybe you still like Bernie and whatnot, but thank you for, you know, having an open mind. Please push him to be better. If you still continue to support him, please make sure that people are aware of who he is and what his record is. But yeah, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. And I hope that whenever I do post up this video, I hope you, enjoy it, share it, and look at the links, read for yourself. But yeah. All right, people. Bye.